Hi, my angels, it's Hailey Reese, and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. I truly and wholeheartedly am so grateful that you are here, and I really do hope that you are having an absolutely incredible morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you when this video finally reaches you. Today's video is one that I am once again so excited to dive into with you guys because so many more experiences are surfacing, and these ones are just getting more and more bizarre and more unexplainable. We're going to be diving into 3 experiences that I am so looking forward to hearing your personal opinion on. One of my favorite things to do, I say this all the time, but it's simply because it's true, is to read through your guys' thoughts on all of these, because while we may not always agree on each and every theory that we all have, there's always such thought-provoking conversations. So please make sure to let me know in the comment section below what you think of these experiences. And make sure to stay to the end, because believe me when I say each of these experiences only gets more and more mind-blowing. I don't even have words. Before we get into today's video though, I am so very grateful and so excited to be thanking today's video sponsor, Skillshare. If you've been here on my channel for a while, you guys would know how much I truly adore Skillshare and how excited I am today to be sharing them with you guys. So Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, entrepreneurship, and so much more. Skillshare can really help you take your career goals, your hobbies, your interests, or your side hustles to the next level, and all of it is at your very own pace. Personally, I have been absolutely loving the Chaos to Calm Google Calendar workshop for creatives because this year I want to combine my creativity with more productivity and efficiency. But I will note I have also loved classes like Creative Writing Bootcamp, Start a Brand New Story, and I low-key learned to take care of my plants better with Skillshare. You guys know that if you've been here a while. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. And thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. But with all of that being said, let's get into these experiences because there's a lot to absorb here. Okay, so this first one is really eerie for the simple fact that there have been countless people surfacing with experiences claiming to have ran into individuals or to have been shown that they want us to forget. But the eerie thing is, nobody seems to know who exactly they are and what exactly it is they want us to forget. So let's get into this experience to gain a little more context. I wasn't supposed to be on this route that day. I'm actually worried if I don't tell someone something will happen to me, and no one would even bat an eye. This happened just this past Tuesday. My car was in the shop and was supposed to be done, but as usual, it needed longer. I don't have any friends but some work ones and don't talk with my family, so my option was to bus. This would take me a lot more time and down a completely different road, but nonetheless would get me to work. I got on the bus and was pretty stoked to see that it was empty for early morning work. One lady and another man with headphones on sleeping. As we were riding, I did zone out a little, just thinking about how expensive my car repair would be, when I noticed a new man now sitting across from me. I looked around and realized the bus hadn't hit another stop yet, but now he's here looking at me so weird, like he could see through me, and it made me so uncomfortable. I made it a real point to keep my eyes away from his. It freaked me out because I am telling you though, we hadn't stopped. There was no stop in between when I'd last been alert, and I was sure there had only been 3 of us, but I kept to myself, thinking I'd just missed him. A few moments later, I look up again to notice the man in the suit is gone. I skim the bus and only see the other 2 riders again. We ride for, I don't know, another 15 minutes and reach another stop where another woman did get on. The ride keeps going, and that's when I notice the man in the suit is now sitting next to me on the bus. I actually jumped because I'd watched that last stop fully, and he did not get back on. Remember, I had checked the whole bus when I lost the guy the last time, so he wasn't even there before that stop anymore. I look at him for a second too long as he puts his fingers to his lips and tells me to shush. I was about to get offended that this creep was telling me to quiet when he didn't know me from nowhere, and I was dead silent. He said something straight dumb again, like, "You don't want to know." So I go to tell him where to go, but before I can, he whispers, "They'll make you forget." His eyes look behind me as he says it, so I look too, and I can't make this up. He disappears again. I sit silent the rest of the ride, and as I go to get off, I take a moment to maybe tell the driver, who looks at me and then shakes his head at me, turning back to the wheel. I have spent the last week online, and I don't know how this was possible. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in glitches, but I do know what I saw. I guess he could have just been some odd guy on the bus who kept moving around in his suit somehow. But who did he think would make me forget, and what did I need to forget? I know it's not normal at all, and now I'm refusing to take the bus again. And like I said, he was flooded with individuals claiming they've ran into people formally dressed, casually dressed, and they tell them they want you to forget. They'll make you forget. But yet again, none of them have understood what it is that we're meant to be forgetting, or that they were specifically meant to be forgetting. Just that there's been far too many instances of this for it to have been a coincidence. And it seems as though it's not even just limited to them wanting you to forget. When we take a look at the story we're about to get into, they too are not alone in this experience, but yet it's entirely different. They're not telling them to forget, they're warning them. And sometimes people are even seeing those they know sharing this warning. We're going to get into this, and then we'll discuss that a little bit more as far as what I mean. So this was in regards to somebody talking about how they believe we're in some sort of loop. And it begins like this. I work at a dentist office and know all of our patients very well. I have ran the reception for years and have great relationships with everyone I work with. They say they didn't mess with me, and judging by their faces, I believe them. So here we are, sharing my crazy. It's the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. 2 weeks ago, we had a big procedure scheduled for 2 patients back to back. That morning, the first patient went back, and the day was anything but out of the ordinary. Keep in mind, these 2 procedures were from the same dental team, but we did have others working too, so the waiting room was far from empty. Her second appointment came in, and I did all I needed to do with her and proceeded for her to wait. As I'm watching her, she starts getting up and saying really scary things, telling the other patients waiting that this isn't real. This world isn't real or something, and that she needs to warn them. We try to calm her, thinking that she's nervous, as people are all the time at the dentist. But she wouldn't calm down. She kept trying to convince people whatever she was saying was true, repeating that this isn't real and we need to wake up. The other patients were starting to get upset, and we were worried that this was something going on with her. So security walked her out to the hallway outside of our office in an attempt to defuse the situation and evaluate what was going on. She was out there for about 10 minutes when suddenly she walks out of the back, having clearly had the work done she was waiting for just minutes ago. Not only did I know she hadn't came back in the waiting room, but there was no way that work could have been done in the past 10 minutes and was ready for her to be leaving. There's also no way to the back from the front hallway. Like, guys, can you imagine? I truthfully felt sick, but didn't want to make a scene and upset the patients anymore, so I waited to ask the staff how this had happened. They all thought I was making fun of them or making some sort of a joke because she'd been the first appointment of the morning, and according to them, couldn't have been there in the waiting room at all. But I had her paperwork right on my desk, and yet they laughed at my silly joke again, saying I must have just done it early and mixed up my times. We later asked security, and he told them exactly what I had said had happened, even saying he'd seen the same woman. But they chalked it up to him being relatively new and not knowing patients' faces as much as I was, so there was no way he was as sure as me. They have been trying to convince us that it was some random person causing a scene, and I must have mixed it up, but she had checked in, given me all her information. Again, I know all the regular patients' faces, and this was definitely her. Even scarier, I'm now being told the first patient never came in, but I know I registered her, and as I look back, I realize my timing is off for everything that occurred. So maybe I'm crazy and maybe not, but I can still hear the panic of her saying this isn't real and we need to be warned in the back of my head. Even security, as tough as he is, said he didn't sleep that night and still thinks about it too. Come to find out, there's so many of you experiencing this as well. Are we in some sort of loop? And what does this mean for us? Also, how could that have been possible? Some of you have been saying that perhaps it's another version of her from an alternate reality, but yet which one was real in this one? And how were they both in the same space at the same time? I need answers. And as she was saying, she was flooded as well with comments of people saying individuals are running into people they know and then bumping into them again as if it didn't happen. Baristas are talking about customers that they see on a loop in the strangest of ways. Individuals that seem to be in the same place at the same time, yet ever so slightly different. We have discussed so many times here on my channel how there are infinite possible realities, and that perhaps there are infinite versions of ourselves out there. So is it possible the veil is becoming so thin that individuals are finding themselves in the same room as an alternate version of themselves? Like, I know this sounds like a sci-fi movie, and honestly, I hear myself too. But imagine these people who are genuinely having these experiences and they don't know what to make of them. For me, I know there's going to be people who believe this is so incredibly far-fetched, but nonetheless, I really think it's interesting to discuss. Because unless it happens to you, it's always going to seem unbelievable. And that leads me into this third one. Not only are people running into other people, running into doubles of people, and having strange experiences with these warnings, people are winding up on roads that don't exist, in towns that they never could have visited, in places that literally mathematically do not make sense in the amount of time it took for them to travel there, but it is happening more and more often. And that leads me into this experience. So here's the thing. I was driving home from work. I work in a city and I live about 30 minutes away in a suburb. The roads were clear and everything was normal until, well, it wasn't. I left the office around 6 p.m. Nothing out of the ordinary. The drive is a pretty standard shot, just highway for the most part. I remember passing a few familiar landmarks and like a gas station near exit 12 and the little diner where I've gotten breakfast a couple times. But then I blanked. That's the next thing I remember is I'm on a road I've never seen before. And here's where it gets weird. I know every inch of that highway. I've driven it hundreds of times, but somehow without realizing it, I ended up on a road with no signage and no lights. It was dark by this point, but I'm telling you, I still know what the streets in my area look like at night, and there was no way I should have been here. Now, I had no idea where I was, and panic started to set in. I pulled over to check my GPS, and according to it, I was somewhere in the middle of nowhere, miles from the highway I was supposed to be on. It's a rural area, but I swear this place isn't on any map I've seen. The streets around me were named nothing like what they should have been. The part that really freaks me out, it was 7:45 p.m. and I was positive I'd left the office just around 6. I can't explain where that time went. My phone didn't show any notifications or even a pause in the drive. No stops, no interruptions, nothing, just pure blackness for 45 minutes. I decided to turn around and go back to find my bearings, and that's when I realized there was no exit to get back on the highway. The road I was on just seemed to loop and twist in ways I didn't remember, like I was trapped in some sort of maze. It felt like the area was constantly shifting, almost like I was driving in circles, and after a few wrong turns, I did find myself finally on a road I recognized. But here's the kicker. The road I was on was supposed to be under construction. It's been closed for months, but suddenly it's wide open, freshly paved, no signs of construction anywhere. To make sure I wasn't losing my mind, I drove past the gas station I remembered seeing earlier. Another weird thing, it looked completely different to me. The building was actually slightly smaller, the logo completely different, and the parking lot rearranged. I knew my place was only 30 minutes away, but with that said, I'd taken into account before that perhaps I'd have been driving lost for an hour. But as I glanced back at the clock, it was now surely 6:30, meaning it had only now been 30 minutes since I left work. This didn't make sense because I knew now I'd been driving around aimlessly for hours. And again, I swear I'd only been on the road for max 30 minutes before I got lost. Maybe add an extra 30 for the missing time. But either way, my clock kept jumping and the roads kept swerving. It was like it was a maze I couldn't get out of. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had a glitch in the matrix moment, but this was next level. I've tried looking up the roads I drove on, but they don't exist. That gas station doesn't match anything in the area. I checked my dash cam footage from the drive, and the footage shows the road I was on, but there are areas where it just blanks or skips ahead. I can upload the footage if anyone wants to see it, but honestly, it's pretty eerie to watch. The even stranger part, that road of construction is still under construction. So how could I have drove on it freshly paved to get back to where I needed to go? I'm not sure what happened, but maybe I ended up stuck in some kind of loop or alternate reality. Has anyone else experienced something like this? Lost time, wrong locations, roads that shouldn't exist? Please tell me I'm not crazy. He was met with people who were telling him he absolutely is not and was not crazy. They too had these exact same types of experiences. Missing roads, driving up roads that don't even exist, attending diners that when they go to return back to them have been closed down forever or were never there at all. And this is happening more and more frequent. I knew when I read these experiences and then went down the rabbit hole of reading how many people across the world are also having experiences like this, I wanted nothing more than to bring them on here and share them with you guys. Because as I said at the beginning of the video, you guys always have the absolute best possible theories, and I just can't wait to hear what you think of these. So with all of that being said, please let me know down in the comment section below what it is you thought of these and what you think is happening. Do you think it's just stories being told, or do you think there's a reality to it? I want to hear your theory and opinion either way, and that is it for today's video. Once again, I would just absolutely love to thank Skillshare for partnering with me on today's video, but for also just always growing my mind and keeping me creative. I just want to remind you that the first 500 of you to use my link down below will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so make sure to go ahead and click the link down below. If you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you enjoy my content, I would love it more than you would ever know if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button, and please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness, and until next time, I love you. Bye guys.